Hey YouTubers, it's Home Server Show here. If you found this podcast as video via search terms, hey, we record this on YouTube for an audio podcast. So this is kind of long form, but we do this for the audio podcast. So make sure you're cognizant of that. It's going to be long. Your topic may not show up until the end. So don't give us a thumbs down because of that, because this is an audio podcast. You can find it at homeservershow.com. And you can chat live if you so choose to do so. All right, we're going to get started. I guess if you're watching it now, it's not live. But you can go to the forums, and then you can chat at us that way, especially if you got to yell at us for getting anything wrong or missing something. We like it. We like to go to the forums.
We never miss anything.
Never.
Perfect every time.
Never always. All right, show notes are going in OneNote. And we will rock and roll. Because I already got a sound check. People said they can hear us. Okay. This is the Home Server Show, episode number 293, recorded on December the 9th, 2015. Welcome back to the Home Server Show. I'm your host, David McCabe, joined by Mr. Jim Collison, Mr. Mike Fauché. Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Greetings, Dave. Good to have you back on a Wednesday night.
You bet. Mike, good to have you back on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you, David.
All right, so we've got all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to jump into that. But do not forget, we are a member of the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com. There's a whole bunch of podcasts out there that you are going to enjoy. And one that I just heard, now this podcast these guys are not on the Geeks Network, but it's called the Home On Podcast. You really should subscribe to it. Find it in your favorite podcatcher directory. But they had a Geeks Network member on their podcast this last week, and I loved it. That's got to be like my most favorite podcast of like the second half of 2015. I mean, that's huge. I listened to 20 a week or so. So this was a great show. So that just tells you that you need to get out to the Geeks Network and listen to all those podcasts out there, thegeeksnetwork.com. That was Chris Compton from Smart Home HQ. That is a Geeks Network podcast. Okay. So my catchphrase is like, do you have a podcast in you? If you do, go out to the Geeks Network and use that contact form and email those guys, which that'll come to me. And if you know of a podcast that needs a home, or you know of someone who's starting a podcast and they need a home, please use that contact form. All right, don't forget Mr. Fauché. You can find him on Twitter at PCDocsWorld. Jim Collison is at JCollison. All those names will be in the show notes. I am Home Server Show and McCabe.io. We're going to be talking about, okay, we're following up, guys, on a little bit of networking. It seems like the follow-up, it builds. The longer I take in between shows, that follow-up just grows to an enormous roaring level. And then we have to address it before we can move on to anything new. So we're gonna pull back out Circle. It's got an official review. We're gonna do the Wi-Fi again. And one more time, I'm probably gonna talk about this a lot for the next year. I'm gonna talk about Server 2012 to NAS migrations, and then I've got a big announcement for you. I know I do that to you almost once a week. I give you something cool to digest. The latest was Mr. Fauché is 2 in a row. Is a permanent host on permanent, semi-permanent, intransient podcasting host permanently intransient. Yeah. So I'm babbling.
That's not any clearer than it was last time, but that's all right.
These guys are laughing. They're on mute because they're laughing at me. And we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to end it up with a little home automation corner because my announcement forthcoming has a lot to do with that. And one of our members podcasting tonight has gone through the very same thing. He's going to coach me through it. Okay. So, Jim, Mike, Jim knows. I think Jim's the only person outside of this house that knows this information. So that's
coming later.
That's how much Jim is like a part of our family, right?
I'm in the inn.
He is Uncle Jim. My boys ask about him all the time.
Love those kids.
So I counted it up since 1993. 1993. Now that's going way back. I moved from Yokosuka, Japan to Texas. From 1993 to present, I will have moved 22 times.
That is nuts.
Yeah, no one should be subjected to that kind of torture.
Knucking futz. That's not nuts. That's knucking futz.
That is nuts.
That is nuts. Okay, so that's the reason. I've got a move coming up. So this could happen anywhere from right in the middle of CES to, I don't know, March. I got a big open window. So as you probably know, you probably don't know, and this is most of the reason why I've been really not on a schedule, right? Because it's been crazy. So ever since we got to this house, Home Server Show headquarters, which a lot of you guys listening, if you have come to a meetup, you might have been in Home Server Show headquarters. As soon as we got here, we were planning to move, right? Because there was a compressed time frame of some things that happened in order for us to get a house and get it as quick as we humanly possibly could, and we were under a lot of stress, we were under a lot of pressure. This was a state-to-state move. Got it done. Got a nice house. We have a very nice house, but it's not completely like a functional house, right? We need different things. So, different families need different things, and we need some different things. So we started shopping. And one thing after another, we put it off for a year, we put it off for another year. We were doing this last year, and one of my children got hurt, so we nixed it in the butt, put it off right then and there, and then we picked it back up about 6 months ago. Looked and looked and looked and looked, and we're very picky people. You guys know me, I'm very picky. And so we found one. Everything's in process. It's not complete yet, but it's in process. And I have no doubt that everything's going to be fine. Excuse me, that we'll be moving into this house. So things are crazy. But this is like podcasting 101. This is like, you need content. Boom, here it is. You've got content. So you're moving. You're doing all this kind of stuff. I know we've done this before. What to do with your server before you move, We've done this. You've heard this if you're a long-time listener. But we're doing it again. So that is one of the, couple of reasons why things have been so crazy. Now, everybody knows.
Most important question, how closer or farther from Fry's?
That puts it all in perspective.
Yeah, of course it does.
You know what the funny thing is I have not been into Fry's since you fellas left September meetup era. It is closer.
Oh, good.
It is closer. I can almost throw a rock and hit it from here. So we're not going back to Wisconsin. We're not going south. We're not going north or east. We're just kind of staying in the neighborhood. I mean, it's a different neighborhood, but it's so all kinds of stuff to talk about on that little tidbit. So we'll be talking about home automation and how it comes with a move, because I'm right in the big middle of a transformation from SmartThings version 1 to SmartThings version 2, and all of a sudden I have to like stop. So we'll talk about that. Mr. Fauché has done that. That's the big news, Jim.
It's big news indeed. I think we'll have to talk about how much you take with you and what do you rip out and what do you leave in, and that. You got, you've, even though you've been there 3-4 years now, is it
3 in August.
three and change? Yeah, 3 and some change.
I can
Got
tell
3
you.
coming up. You've built some stuff in there. You'll have a little stuff to rip out.
Yeah, and this move is a purge move. We've already decided, because the last one was the emergency move, because it was just go now.
Yeah.
So we literally boxed up boxes.
Right.
We boxed up dumb stuff. There was a stack of pancakes on a plate from breakfast. It got boxed up and delivered. That's how much we boxed up everything.
Well, you'll have some planning time now, and I think to ask those questions of, what do you do with your equipment when you're moving, and how do you get that, and will there be some, that switch over time that you have as you're getting stuff put together and on the truck, and will you have 2 houses for a short period of time, so you can move one to the other and get that stuff moved in. Those are all those things we'll just have to work through with you as you make that progress.
Chat room, looks like we have someone new participating in chat. If this is maybe your first time to listen, you just jumped in. I apologize. I'm in Indianapolis area. That's pretty much where I am. It's a suburb.
Northeast. Indianapolis.
So, there's not that many Fries. If you wanted to, hunt me down, you could start with every Fry city, but I'm just going to make it easier for you. Indianapolis area. So now you can go to Fry's and just hang around and wait for me. Okay. I want to circle back around to Circle. Now that was a horrible segue, but if you don't know what Circle is, I did a review on homeservershow.com. Did I post it? I think I posted it as a post.
Yeah.
The weird thing is,
it got monster clicks from my Twitter stream.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah,
Thank
you bet.
So Circle is really cool, and I got to tell you, I did this review in the beginning as a video review, and I edited it on my Surface Book, which is behind me here. I see it sitting on the couch during like Thanksgiving holiday. I edited this thing up, and it just was not working. It just when you create a piece of work and you just don't like it and you don't feel like you've done it justice, right? So I just put out a text version of this video. So I hope that it kind of worked and it looks okay. Circle is a device that you put on your network. You turn it on, fire up the app, and it will guide you through connecting to your Wi-Fi. And it will it will kind of interview you to give you profiles. And you put your children in profiles, you put yourself in profiles, and you can then monitor their internet behavior and limit their time on devices on the internet. Let's say you found some kids doing some crazy stuff on YouTube. Well, you can go into their profile on your iOS device and turn YouTube off. Or you could assign 15, 30 minutes of YouTube time. You say your kids are on it all night long or something. You can say, okay, you have 30 minutes of YouTube every day. And that's it. Once you reach that 30 minutes, it will not let you get on YouTube anymore. It just shuts it off. It's really cool. Just shuts it off. And you can put bedtime limits. You can put wake-up limits. You can say, okay, your wake time is 7 a.m. Your bedtime is 10 p.m. At 10 p.m., the internet on your device shuts off. Just completely shuts off. It will not let you get the internet anymore. So it's a way of kind of managing that if you so need to do so. Now here's where I found that I needed something like this, and you guys, you may have this as well. Having kids, and it's a new day and age where these kids, neighbor kids, will come over with their little iPads, and my kids are like, Dad, they need to get on Wi-Fi so we can, make this thing on Minecraft together. I'm like, all right, that's fine, that's fine. So you can have guest SSIDs, but you're still kind of leaving yourself open, right? Because they could just jump on at any time. Here's what happened to me. I was monitoring my circle reports, and I saw the neighbor's iPad on my network. It's because they had my SSID loaded on their iPad, and they somehow got, one of my neighbors has horrible Wi-Fi. They've got, one little Linksys down in the basement to cover their whole house, and it just doesn't do it. So their iPad jumps on my Wi-Fi before it jumps on their own Wi-Fi. I was like, this is crazy. That should not happen. And if it does, I should know that. Well, I assigned their iPad to a Circle account, which says, it's like, I don't know, I forget what I called it, like my offline account, where I assigned it to be offline always, just always, no internet. So if it jumps on to my SSID again, which I could change the password, but that's a pain in the butt. We all know different ways to do this, but I can't change my passwords regularly. You know what I mean? Things the chat room is saying, change your password, change your password. I have tons of stuff, cameras, water sensors, just it's a mess. I like my Wi-Fi password the way it is. Okay, call me crazy or cheap or lazy. So the thing is when this kid comes over, I just fire up the app and transfer him into Kids Guest. I made a profile called Kids Guest, and that keeps them from searching, Playboy.com, but at the same time they can play Minecraft together, with their buddies. Every new device that comes into your house jumps on to your Wi-Fi. Let's say you gave your password out, to grandma or something. When she comes over and jumps on your network, you'll get a notification from Circle, the app, and it'll say a new device has joined your network. So now chat room is saying, hey, I just blocked the MAC address. Well, okay. Now go across the street to your neighbor's house and tell them, okay, ask them, what's a MAC address? They're going to be like, I don't know. What's a MAC address? McDonald's, it's down the street. They don't know. They don't know these things. That's why this box does things for you, and it's $99. Ted's telling me I need a Wi-Fi pineapple. Well, I think this is kind of what that is. It's just a security device for your Wi-Fi. But they've got a partnership with Disney, and so you put the Circle app on each of the kids' devices, and they can search Disney content, get free streaming content. It's kind of cool, but I'm not basing the review on that. So it's $99, and I just wanted to come back around and let you know after that review. I don't even know it's on. I've done speed tests. I've tried to prove that this device is like kludging up my network somehow, and I can't. It just kind of works. It's really kind of neat. Now, it may not be for all of us, Jim. I don't know. Your kids are older, Mike. It may not be for your household, but there's a lot of households out there that could use a simple security device that they just run with an app.
Yeah, no, I would have used it, Dave. 10 years ago, I would have used it for sure. We paid for in the day. We used an application called Enough, ENUFF, and I think it's actually still out there. I haven't updated it in a while, and I think I paid $65 for it or something like that to help me monitor the kids' time and lock the sites down. We used K9 in those days to help with that as well. So to get a piece of hardware to do it, and yeah, you could do a MAC address filtering where you only allow your MAC addresses through, right? You block them all. That way you don't have to hack your your neighbor's MAC address to get it, so you could do it that way. But I think for the family who you kind of want to set it, put it in, and have you got an app for it and easy access to it. That is, I looked at the review. For me, that was the attractive thing to it, was that, oh, this has got some pretty easy average guy access to it. I mean, have you tried to get in on your router lately and figure out, the million options that you have available? Options equal confusion, So yeah, no, I think this is one of those things, a nice device, good amount of options, but not so many that you get overwhelmed. And it's really designed to help the kids. So, your kids are 5 to, well, they're probably even younger than that, 3 to 17. May
Yeah.
not be a bad. Hey, my 16-year-old, we shut off the router at midnight, right? So he would get in bed. So, just because they're teenagers doesn't mean sometimes they don't need a little bit of a prompting.
Well, that's the thing that you can do, is you can shut off the router at a certain time, which is bedtime. Now, the other thing is you can fire up the app, and right there on the home screen where you're looking at all the profiles that belong to your circle, you can hit pause. There's a big play pause button right there. Boom, it pauses the internet instantly. And what you find is little heads looking down, and you hit that pause button, and then all of a sudden, all those heads pop up.
Get their attention.
And it's like,
hey,
is it dinner time? Yes, come eat. So it's really a neat device. It's $99. Christopher Kinney, our forums admin, hit me up and said he bought one, and I can't wait to get his feedback on it, because I haven't seen a whole lot of chat about this box. And okay, Ted, Wi-Fi Pineapple. So you guys can go look at this, WiFiPineapple.com. I looked at the front page, and it's already 90 times more complicated with dip switches, and it has 5,000 more pieces of equipment.
Yeah, a Wi-Fi Pineapple is a hacker device, right? Okay. I mean, it's not this is designed to go. We talked about this over on Home Tech when we had John Nye, and that's what that is. There's a lot of things you can do with that. That's not your average guy set it and forget it, drop it in.
This looks fun.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Yeah,
this is not for, like Jim, like you said, the average guy.
No, you're not using a Wi-Fi Pineapple to protect your family. I mean, you could, but
the other thing is if your kids figure it out now, Circle's got an Ethernet jack on it. So you could pop it into your Ethernet, and it will control everything on your network. Everything. Desktops, everything. So let's say your kid's like, all right, let's go find, some fun stuff. I know where Dad's box is. I'll just go grab it and pull the plug on that thing. Pull the plug on it, and it's got a battery inside of it. They can take it with them and put it somewhere in the house, and it's still going. It's got a battery. It's still connected to Wi-Fi. It's still doing its job. And let's say your kids take it outside and wrap it in aluminum foil where it cannot communicate anymore. The app will notify you. Your circle is offline. And you know instantly, all right, something's going on. So it's really kind of cool. It's a really good device. So I'll put the link in the show notes if you're listening. You can go to I put a quick link. It's homeservershow.com/circle. So just real quick and easy, homeservershow.com/circle. Now this is a device I purchased. I bought this with my own money. I didn't like get it for free or get 10 for free or anything. So this is something I paid for. And this is something that's going to go into, I've got a kind of a Christmas list I'm going to go over probably in a couple of days. I'm going to try to sit down and hammer out a solo show with some of the stuff that I've purchased over the year and that I would purchase again and tell you guys some cool stuff. So, all right. So, something that sort of led up to all this chat. If you listen to the last show, this may be just a little bit redundant, but we've been having Wi-Fi issues, right? The boys in the forums have hooked onto this open mesh. I've got my open order to Eero, E-E-R-O, which is supposed to deliver February. I'm waiting for it. But in the meantime, I thought that I needed something in order to kind of help me along. So I've got Ubiquity. I've got 3 access points of Ubiquity, 2.4 gigahertz only. They are not 5.8. So I got from, it was like episode 287 or 284 or something, we had Dwayne Robinson on. He bought a little $36 TP-Link access point. Well, I bought that. And I couldn't throw that blinkety access point any further than humanly possible. It made me so mad. I absolutely, I can't throw it farther. It's just the worst piece of crap ever. Look back. I've got a link on one of those shows about this little $36 TP-Link. It was horrible. It was horrible. So it would drop off of. It would just drop Wi-Fi, and all of my devices would have to reconnect. And how I would usually know is like my water sensors would drop off, and they would ping me saying, "Hey, your water sensors are not communicating." Like, oh, okay, crap. So everybody in the house, the Wi-Fi's out. The Wi-Fi, you know. And I'm trying to review this circle box, and I'm thinking, man, is this circle box causing? You know, it could. This is something that you would think, okay, maybe this thing is causing issues. Well, it wasn't. It was my piece of junk TP-Link. So I ended up. I'm eternal tester, right? I bought an EDI Max. I think it's an AC 750 or an AC 7500. It's like a step down from the higher bandwidth machine. And the cool thing about it, though, is I kept my Ubiquity, right? So I can keep my old SSID up and running. It's spread out all over the house, but it's 2.4. The EDI box, I turned off 2.4, and I'm only transmitting on 5.8, which is like the coolest feature ever. And some of these things, access points, you can't do that. You can't turn off radios. This one is really cool. You can do that. So again, it was another like $35 for this thing, and I got it from Amazon, and I'll try to get that link out in the show notes, but it's actually in the forums as well, and it's working really well. So I've got 5.8 that I'm using with that, and I'm kind of using my own SSID. The rest of the family is on the rest of the 2.4, so it's 5.8 gigahertz chat room 5.8. So it's really good. So if you guys would like to chat about that, it's in the forums. And I know that Mike has purchased into the Open Mesh program. Now, if the Eero program fails me in February, I've kind of decided, Mike, that I'm going to follow you and get into the Open Mesh. So I know there were some issues, but so did you guys get all of that stuff ironed out?
Yeah, actually, I hate always saying yes, it's perfect, but actually, it's been really good. I'm really impressed with, how they brought this thing along. They are still running on version 6 beta. They haven't done the public. I mean, the beta is available public, but they're not calling it obviously their general release yet. But it's been, knock on wood, it's been just rock solid. The issue was strictly, at least as far as I could tell, was limited to iOS devices. Most particularly the 6 and 6 Plus versions of it, most likely due to the differences in the radios and stuff. But it would basically just drop out, lock you out into this endless password thing. And that got addressed. They were able to identify the problem. I worked with them in terms of testing out some of their initial beta fixes, and they got something that works really, really well. It's been, I can't even remember how many days now, and I haven't had any issues at all, no downtime, no problems whatsoever. It's just a really nice product. It's so easy to set up, and it's so flexible. And I really like some of the native features in it, such as, you mentioned different SSIDs.
Mm-hmm.
This actually enables you to have the one guest and three private SSIDs, for lack of a better term, and any one of those can bridge to your local network. So it creates sort of a VLAN by default, so it isolates you from your local devices. So even if you create, like I say, a separate network, people can't just go and attach to your server or whatever, which is good. I think it's an additional extra boost in security. So it kind of isolates you into a different sort of subnet. But you can selectively pick the one SSID that you want to bridge to your local area stuff, and so you can get to your streaming devices, your servers, and whatever. So cameras, for example, that kind of stuff. So you could create your own private one that's bridged to your LAN, and then the rest can be done however you want. So it's really flexible, very powerful, and very, very stable. The range is still just phenomenal. It still impresses me to this day. I'm up to like 7 Wi-Fi cameras that I'm running, and it doesn't bother it whatsoever, no matter where they're located inside the house. And I've got one outside, soon 3 more outside.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if anybody was actually disappointed with it, other than you have to buy it. It's not cheap, and you've got to buy some form of power supply, whether it's a PoE adapter, a PoE switch, or a PoE injector, I should say, or a PoE switch, or whether you want the brick, But you got to power it somehow. As I mentioned on the last show, I opted for an inexpensive TrendNet PoE Plus switch that drives 4 devices, and I'm using that. I'm going to be using that for a couple of PoE cameras and this particular Wi-Fi, and I'm probably going to get one more.
Well, that's awesome. So if you caught in the middle of that, we're talking about Open Mesh. Now, this can you get this like on Amazon? Is this like easy to
Yeah,
get?
you can get it on Amazon, but it's no cheaper on Amazon. I mean,
Okay.
when I first bought it, it wasn't actually available on Amazon because I think I bought it like 2 or 3 days after it was released or announced, at least on your forums. So I ended up buying it directly from OpenMesh, but I've seen it there many times since then. So I think it's $1 cheaper.
A whole dollar cheaper.
A whole dollar cheaper.
But okay, so we'll get some links out to that because I'm really intrigued. If this the promise of Eero does not pan out, and I'm afraid that it's not going to be as powerful as something I could probably get with the Open Mesh. I'm intrigued about running. Go ahead.
I said you said February, right? Was that 2016 or?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
But granted, it was supposed to be summer of 2015, and then it moved to late summer, and then to fall, winter, and now they've just said, okay, officially February, probably unofficially, but it is what it is. I've kept my money in that project because it was cheap to buy in at first, a whole lot cheaper, and I hope that it's going to pan out. If it doesn't, then I'll just get my money back. All I lose is time. And to be honest with you, with a move coming up, that's probably not such a bad thing because I'll be able to go in there and figure out where I need to get Wi-Fi. Now, is there anything I'm missing with Open Mesh? I mean, we're talking every protocol, every frequency imaginable, software management, guest management.
It's actually cloud-based, so there's no software controller like Ubiquiti's. You basically log on to a website, enter in your MAC address, and that's it. That's all you have to really do is the setup. Of course, you have to name your SSID, but the rest of the stuff is pretty much done for you. You're not gonna mess with it too much unless you want to do some customizing, or unless you spend an hour figuring out why you can't connect to your LAN devices and don't know why. But then once
you have to bridge the SSID.
Yeah, which isn't that's not a typical feature of a traditional Wi-Fi device. So you're not really looking for that. You just assume that if it's on your local network that it's just going to connect, and that isn't the way it works, which turns out to be a really, really great thing once you figure out it's there.
Interesting. Okay, that is very interesting because you could can you like bridge them to another network or say
You
another
could,
router on the network or something?
well, you
Different.
basically bridge to a LAN. You can bridge two SSIDs together and then bridge one to the LAN, so you can do that route. But your bridge is really to a LAN. So you're either on the network or through a sort of a mock-up VLAN type thing.
Interesting. Is there any type of apps for phones or tablets for management or like viewing
Yeah,
reports or
sure, absolutely. There's a great. I haven't checked the Android side of the house, but although I have several Android devices, I just haven't really loaded up the app. But I have used it on the iPhone and iPad, and it's pretty awesome. It's actually almost easier, although I kind of like the idea of being able to set everything up from the browser. But you can do it strictly with an app. So if you don't want to mess with your browser, you can do it from there.
yeah, I don't that's intriguing me a little bit more lately, especially the communication factor that an app can provide, like I was talking about with the Circle device. If someone goes and turns it off, it'll let you know. So and that's pretty important these days, especially like with the way I monitor. If my Wi-Fi dies, I want to know because that means a lot of my home automation monitors have just gone down because they can't communicate back to home or they can't communicate to my phone to let me know, yeah, the basement's covered in water.
Yeah, yeah. There is some level of notifications in it. I haven't really messed with the notifications too much, but you can check on the status of it anytime by logging into the phone app, or if you don't have the phone app, you can go to the website. You just go to cloudtracks.com and punch in your account information and all your graphs, your status, your bandwidth, and your clients, and everything you always wanted to know and were afraid to ask. It's all there on the dashboard. And then, of course, you can drill down and configure things. You can figure your own startup page. So if you want people to kind of like the hotels do, where you want to go to a portal page, you can do that kind of stuff. You can use the default page. You can load your own web, HTML type thing if you want. You can do it. It's very, very flexible. It's pretty powerful. But it's only if you want it to be. There's not really a lot of complication with it. I mean, I'd be surprised if anybody had a hard time. There's almost no instructions when you get it. That's probably a downside. If you watch a 5-minute YouTube video, you know all you need to know, and you go and you're on your way. But you got to go look for it. They're not really good about telling you what it comes with or what it can do. But it's once you get on the Cloud Tracks and you've created your account, you're going to know what to do, because the minute you click on Add Access Point, it just kind of walks you through it and you're on your way. It geotags it too, so when you're looking at your dashboard, you can see actually a map of the area where you live, and you can position. You can either upload a floor plan, or you can use the default Google snapshot of your house, and you can actually position one or more access points on there so that you can see them pictorially, and you can right click and see the status of any one of those Wi-Fi access points. So it's kind of cool. It's got a lot of native features that you can live without, but it's really kind of nice to have them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it sounds pretty much like the Ubiquity product, and
I
I've
can
kind of
tell you it looks nothing like the Ubiquiti
okay.
product. It sounds like it, but actually when you see the interface, you'll see a whole different simplicity.
Interesting. Well, now I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait because I don't want to be paying any money. I've already paid my money. I'm gonna wait for Eero, and I will review that for the show and for everything, so you guys know exactly how that works. And it's supposed to be really appified, where you can, use apps and whatnot. So we'll get into that. We will talk more about that. I have a small note here. I mentioned you guys that have come to meetups and have gotten a tour through Home Server Show headquarters. Some of you guys, sat in the chair and took pictures, and it was kind of weird, but we all chatted up here and in the podcasting space. So I know you guys you kind of know the layout of my house, where I sit, and my server room. I have two different basement areas with servers in one rack. That's a wire rack. It's not like a server rack. And then another area where the internet comes in, where all the cabling comes in, right? All the coax and all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of like the bald barber, right? You don't want to go to the bald barber because he has no, he just doesn't care about your hair, right? The guy's bald, right? So my stuff, my wiring in my closet looks like a spaghetti factory, but it works. It's my spaghetti factory. I know how it works, and I know every single wire run in there. It's just a mess. It's just a mess because I tear into it too much. Well, I fixed it. The mess has been, it's all nicely wire wrapped, wire tied, and in one single wall mounted rack cabinet. Fixed the coax. All the coax comes in and wraps into a head-in system. The internet wire comes in, runs around to a switch, the router, and the router it's an Airport Extreme router, which has Wi-Fi on it, but I don't use it, so it's just fine being in a metal enclosure. So no, I can't see the Wi-Fi. It's not causing any issues. So I just wanted to tell you guys that have come over and have toured the headquarters. I have cleaned it up. You can rest easy now, and that's another thing. To sell a home, you gotta make it presentable. And my spaghetti warehouse was not very presentable. I don't know if you guys out there have that. But.
Only every other week, and then you clean it, you tear it up, you clean it, you tear it up.
Yeah, it's a huge issue. I mean, that for me, my son, I was over at John's house, and he's got everything like wrapped and tied, and I mean, it was his place is spotless, single guy living in an apartment. You wouldn't expect that from him, and I was a little jealous. I'm like, oh man, I need to come home, and then I'm looking at my mess here underneath the desk. And Mike, I just moved stuff around too much. This is the hard part about, just the other night I'm like, well, I'm going to move this monitor. Oh, I want my phones up here now. I mount the phones on these arms so I can get to them fast. And I'm going to move some things around. I'm just always monkeying with it. So you have to undo the ties and snap them. And so booey. I'm just going to leave it. It's a mess. I tried running some of those plastic like pipe holders.
Yeah.
You would screw in one side, and then you just leave the other side. And you can pull them down, put them in, they snap back up. I've done that. I've used plumber's piping tape, not tape, but the plastic with the holes in it. Mm-hmm. Those will fold over, and to kind of keep the wires in. So I try, but it's not very successful. So Dave, you fixed it right before you're moving.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the same thing, just in time to move.
Yeah, I do have I guess I need to share. I have one picture that's just a disaster, and actually it's kind of mid-disaster. It's not even as messy as it was. I'll see if I can't get that shared out. That'll be in the show notes. That'll let you guys come back and look at the show notes right now. So
you need to put the after one too.
I should put the after one. I should do that. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know. Does that motivate anybody to get out there and clean up your wire rack? Maybe. If you're a geek like me, you're like, man, it works. Why would I get in there, start tugging around on those punch down panels?
I'm actually sort of in the process of doing that, because after I moved in, mine was really clean, and I did everything, tied everything up. Since then, I've been kind of upgrading some things, and with the server changes, the NAS, the adding some additional switches. Now we're going to rack-mounted firewall router type thing. All that stuff's gonna sort of in process. So as soon as I get that all tidied up, I'm gonna be streamlining, and I'm gonna go back to try and cleaning that up a little bit. So, oh, there you go.
Okay, so if you're live video, YouTube video, there is a piece of it right there.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Yeah, that's.
Look, you can see the stray wires down here, the Cat 5e.
Mm-hmm.
You got the phone panels. I have fiber, so I'm very fortunate in that. This is the internet handoff that comes out. It's coming. So I have an UMA telephone device, and I have the Airport Express, and then I've got this big D-Link switch here. So I minimized this D-Link switch, and I turned it into a smaller switch, and utilizing I think it's an extra 3 ports on the Airport Extreme as well, which I have the old one, which is flat. I don't have any of these round tube-looking routers, so I've got it cleaned up nicely. I need to check the chat. So it works out really good, and everything's still functioning. And I think the biggest block to me was taking everything offline. So what I did is I just stood, I've stood in front of it for hours on end, saying, well, I could route that there. I could move this. Well, yeah, I'd have to take the internet down. Oh, you just look at it and you're like, God. And then finally you're just like, that's it. I'm doing it. You just turn the power off, and then you just start, once you get going, it's just like flinging and wires and cutting zip ties all up and down, and so you see it right in the middle of that picture you saw was right in the middle of the mess. All the internet's off. Everything starts screaming. All the sensors, and the phone's not working anymore. I have a TCP/IP phone, so it was a mess. So I put it all back, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's crammed in there, right? I kind of got to put a shoulder into it to get that door and hit that key, but it's in there. So poor home buyer, if they open that key, that door's going to knock somebody the heck out.
You need to put a warning on the door that says, please stand back 3 feet when you open.
If you don't know what you're doing, you might not want to open the door. Type deal. You'll have to give them
under pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to give them Dave. I imagine the new homeowner. You probably will need to give them a little bit of a little lesson, leave them a YouTube video or something that here's
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because my house is kind of scary, right? I've got audio stuff, and I use different ways to do things. I use a Chromecast, and I use an Airport Express that is piped into my audio system in order to get music throughout the house. And there's a completely different way to pipe that to the outside if you want to get it outside. And I've got a TV and a screened porch area that it's got a switch mounted behind it, and it's got one of those I can't remember the name of the boxes, but it's a little box that hooks into my media center, right? So it's like a media center extender. So, you can't just leave that, because people would be like, what's this? It'd be crazy. So yes, I do need to give like a tutorial to the incoming, new homeowners. So, all right. So just want to follow up with the whole server thing. We're almost done here. We'll get to some home automation on the move. But the server is off, completely turned off. It's no longer functioning, no longer on. I do not want to turn it back on for fear of throwing things out of sync. I will turn it on probably without connectivity, so I can turn some things off gracefully. And then I was thinking about maybe pulling a stack of drives out and then maybe archiving those drives, because they still have data on them, even though I've got that data still in 2 places in the house, 2 different places in the house, and there's actually a third on it, like a external USB drive. Now here's the problem. I don't have CrashPlan running anymore. I know we've talked about this before. And I still haven't dug into, there's a QNAP right above my shoulder here. I still have dug into that one, and that's like in the future. When I get some time, when I get settled, what I want to do is see if I can do some rsync to this box and then have it send up to CrashPlan, because I know it's got a native client, and I don't want to do that with the Synology. I'm running a Synology. What else? Everything's working. All the website backups are coming down just fine to the Synology. Everything looks good. We've been streaming to my NAS, not to my NAS device, but to the Roku. I have a Roku 3, and we've been streaming just fine. I mean, let me caveat this, not via Plex. Not via Plex. Via the Synology built-in app. It's called DS Video, and there's an app for the Roku for DS Video, and you can just browse through all your video stuff. So I got a show from the internet that I wanted to watch, downloaded it, and we watched it from DS Videos. It was in HD. It was beautiful, and it was awesome. No stuttering, nothing, and you could forward through commercials with that, and I cannot do that with Plex on my Synology, and I know we've talked about that before, but I just want to let you know how everything seems to be really kind of working out without having the Server 2012 R2 with the Essentials loaded up on it. I do kind of miss it. I miss the dashboard. I miss kind of tinkering around with it because I had drive pool on it. I have about 1 billion hard drives sitting in it. I want to reclaim some of those, and I want to reclaim some SSDs in that thing. So, as time will permit, I'm going to do that. But right now, I'm on the NAS drive, and it's working just fine. Now, what I plan on doing is I do have a home move coming up, and I've talked about this before in past years on how you can sync Synology devices across the internet. I'm going to get one and leave it at one of the two houses, whichever the one I am not working at, living at, and put some cameras out and make sure that everything's fine. So I plan on doing that, and hopefully that's the plan. Hopefully that's the plan. I see the chat room is sharing wiring closet before and afters. Oh my God, that's a work wiring closet right there. I might have to grab those links and show those. That's a very nice after. So good job, guys. I will share those in the show notes. So if you're listening on audio, I'm going to put all that. You can see that. That's from Yoda.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, Yoda Fat. That was a pretty good picture. And that's a work wiring cabinet right there, man.
Yeah. I'd buy beer. You could stay at my house for an unlimited amount of time if you want to come make my stuff look that good. That's pretty cool.
That is fantastic. I love it. But you can see how they've limited some hardware there too. They've taken out a lot of hardware.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is you end up with not only a pile of extra cables, but you get stuff that's not even connected, and you get
find a lot of open ports.
Open ports. I mean, that's a big one. Is open ports that you really have a one-sided cable attached to it, and in some cases hardware. I've got a couple things that are on my rack that I don't use anymore that are just sitting there taking up space. They're still plugged in. They're still got a network cable attached to it.
Yeah.
Dave, it's interesting, as you've gone all NAS, I've come all the way back server. So still running 2011s and all in on 2012 R2 with drive pool and SSDs and multiple drives and CrashPlan. I'll talk about that a little bit here
I've been
towards the end
there.
of the show. Yeah, yeah. Now I've gone back to that, and I'm actually really, really comfortable in that setup right now. It's again, the backup solution that works is the one that works for you, right? From that standpoint. So that's what's working for me. And a couple times I've tried to decommission the 2011 box, and I'm having a hard time letting it go, just because it's kind of like, do you really? That's the first. That's the best. It's run forever. It still does a great job. It does what it needs to do for me. It's backing
Yeah.
up to crash plan. So that's 2011, 2012. Looking at the new server version that's coming. I mean, we're going to see it fall, and I think it's going to be fall of 2016 before we see it, but in full. But yeah, so I know that's kind of where I'm at. I've gone the other direction, and yet still the Drobo's still in business. I mean, all my movies, and when everybody has stopped ripping movies, and I started, and not a lot of them, but
I haven't stopped.
oh, well, that's good to know, because I'm ripping them. I'm like, am I the last guy on the planet ripping
No,
movies?
no, no, no.
At
No.
this point, we got a couple new ones, and I ripped them down, and I actually bought a Plex Pass
Hmm.
this last month. I thought, all right, it's time to get the app, blah blah blah, and so I jumped on the Plex. And I've been using Plex. I just didn't have the pass, and so the Drobo serves those up. So that's kind of the direction I've gone. Mike, what about where are you at from a server at home standpoint?
Sort of both of you guys. I mean, I was probably the first one to switch to the NAS because I'm going to a QNAP 4-bay and put some 6 terabyte drives in there, and that kind of did the conversion primarily for space, power, and heat, because since the move, I've kind of reorganized things to where they're not spread out into different rooms. So I had too much concentration of heat being generated in one room with, roughly 7 computers, including a couple servers. So it was just not working out. So I started to pare everything down, and ultimately what I ended up with was the QNAP. I still have a 2012 storage server, which I use as a physical backup. It's basically R2, but without a lot of some of the features that you don't really need just for file storage. And then it actually works really well. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of doing a little bit of both. My QNAP's still my primary for data. It's still my primary for media. I've got my Blu-ray collection on it. It's kind of the default. The other one is strictly just a sync backup that I run once, like 4 times a week.
I do a sync. I do a NAS to NAS sync every night, and the one thing that I have not had time to do, and this is probably the one that really bites you in the butt, is do the PC backups, which I only really need to back up one PC. That's kind of crazy to say that, but that's
real though nowadays. That's
yeah.
not uncommon. That's kind of where I'm at too.
And remember where we came from. Like, okay, I think I got my 2 PCs and then my laptop, and then then I need to back up the kids' laptops, and then I got to back up the wife's laptops, and maybe some more, here and there. And now it's just like, well, we've all got OneDrive, and we all save it there, or I'm doing R2 backups with it, or most of it is just like, all right, if it dies, it dies. I'll just reflash Windows 10 or Windows 8 on it.
Yeah.
Just be done.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of in the same boat. I back up one primary and I use a Cronus, and I do less often, but I do my laptop because that's become kind of my primary when I'm away from the house. So I do the laptop through a Cronus. Probably maybe every other week or so, because again, like you said, the data is out in the cloud, so it's not a problem with data. It's just that I use it a lot for it's my VPN connection, it's my experimental box sort of, so if I get a little time when I'm at work or something, I'll test things out and do things on it. So a lot of times I want to protect that configuration. So I probably wouldn't be the end of the world if I didn't do it, but I just do it because I can. I've got a three PC Acronis license, so it's just
Mhm.
something that I'm doing just because it's there.
Hey,
Yeah, it's probably
speak.
going to be a Cronus for me, or maybe Veeam. I know a lot of guys are using the Veeam. Go ahead, Jim.
Speaking of
I
Acronis, and this deal may only be good while it's live. I'll throw it in the chat. But I got an email today that a $20 for the one PC and like $40 for the three PC upgrade for Acronis, and I
Yeah, I
think
saw that too. Yeah.
pretty good deal if you're running 2015 and you need an upgrade. The beauty, I'll throw this in the chat room for those that are out there. If you're using Acronis on the one PC license, it's a 1-for-1. So you get the upgrade plus an additional license for another PC, and you get it for
Mhm.
$20.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I
that's the
tried
cheapest
that.
I've seen.
I tried that Veeam. Um, Boy, you know what? It's just I had a hell of a time with it. I
Hmm.
could not get that thing to work reliably because I really started with trying to use it for VM backups because it seemed like a really good idea. That was just a disaster. So,
Yeah,
if
I had
people have
trouble with
good
it.
luck, yeah, if people have good luck with it. That's good. I think when it works well. But it seems to be extremely sensitive to the software hardware configuration you have.
I had trouble with it, but I think I was on the early beta, and it wasn't, and I didn't give it enough time either. I'm like, okay, this doesn't work out of the box, and I don't have the bandwidth to really mess with it, so I'm done. So I didn't give it a fair shake. All right, so that's my position on server to NAS, and I'm gonna keep the server around because I do have some VMs on it. I have some Minecraft servers running on it. I got a couple of Windows 7 loads on it, and I'd probably like to turn it on from time to time, but we'll see. I really need to go through the hard drives and see what's actually in there. I know there's a lot of drives that are really not even in use. And you know what the crazy thing is? I was digging through my closet, and when I turned off my 2011 server, I took out that pool of drives and I stuck them on a shelf, my 2011 server. So there's 9 terabytes of hard drive configured in my closet waiting for a Windows 2011 home server build. And it's just like, okay, now I've turned off my second server. Maybe I should get rid of these things. And I don't have any use for these drives. I don't. It's weird that
It's
a
a weird
stack of
spot to be in, isn't
a
it?
stack of 2 terabyte drives. I'm just like, I don't need these.
Yeah,
What do
you
I?
should sell them, move them on,
Yeah.
give them away, use them as coasters.
I don't know. I was thinking maybe I could throw some like I don't know cold storage, like throw on photos and stuff, and then take it to grandma's house and just say here's a static bag with a hard drive, just in case. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, you never know. Spread them around, but that's hard to manage. You forget where you put them,
Christmas
and
gifts. Hey, look
there
at
you
here,
go.
new hard
There you
drive,
go. Giveaways at the next one.
slightly used hard drive. There you go. Do
Giveaways.
not run undelete, please. All right, no crash plan. We got the Acronis deal. That link is for make sure you have a license already.
Yeah, you have to have a
So
license, a 2015 license already. Yeah.
yeah, we've talked about cloud this, cloud that. We've talked about OneDrive, and I'm almost afraid that it's Jim with his servers filling up my OneDrive and causing Microsoft to have such a tizzy.
No, never. I never did that. Crash plan, yes. I definitely have moved everything there, but not OneDrive. I wasn't. I never caught that bug to get to get the unlimited stuff up there. I know there was a lot of folks doing that, but no, I hadn't got there. I have some photos and I've got some spreadsheets and I'm using it the way I think they intended it to be
Right.
used.
Yeah. Well, let's see about this one. I know we've talked about this one before, and it might be in your cloud your
Yeah,
cloud storage
the Know It guide.
average
Know It guide.
guide.
Yep.
Know it
The
guide.
Know It guide.
No, GUID
Yeah, I'll drop a link to that in the
guide.
chat room too.
So I got this tip from Alaskan Jackson on Twitter, Joel. he retweeted something about Spider Oak. SpiderOak.com. They give you 1 terabyte. It's $129 a year. But there's something to be said about a company that actually charges you a fee for your data, right? And does a good job with it. Because by all my looking at this company, it looks like these guys are doing a good job storing data, keeping it private, and not poking their eyeballs into it. And they're charging you decent money to do so, right? There's a lot of other companies where you can get, $60 a month. You can get it, or not $60 a month, but a year annual for 1 terabyte. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It's called SpiderOak.com, and see, Jim, if you would run across these guys or maybe give them a review.
Yeah, we've had them out there. They've been out there a while, and I've got their information. I don't know what they're giving now. I pulled up the Know It guide. How quickly time passes. The last time I updated this, September of 2014. Surprisingly,
Ooh.
yeah. You think it feels like just yesterday I was out there. You go through and you go to the sites and you make sure the deals are still there. You make sure
Right.
the cloud storage provider is still there,
Well,
right? I
that's
mean,
happened to us before.
I know.
We had a deal with Live Drive that was too good to be true, honestly, and you could pay like 30 cents or something for unlimited storage forever
Yeah.
with 500 PCs, and yeah, they went belly up.
Well, we've had a couple
So
go belly up in the process. Ubuntu One went under. Mega Cloud has gone under. So there's been a few
with your
that have gone under.
name to Mega Cloud, you're bound to go under.
Amazon has updated theirs as well. They're giving a lot more for less. But last time I looked at Spider Oak, they were giving away 2 gig for free, and then had all kinds of different options available
That
to you.
might
So
be what it is right now. Let's look.
there has not been a lot of change. When we think about cloud storage, you just it grew and then it stopped, and most of them have stayed with very little changes in a year. So I'll go back. I'll make a note to myself to update the cloud storage guide, see
Hmm.
what's changed, add some more. If you've got one, I dropped the link both in the show notes and in chat. If you've found one that you're using that I got wrong or that has updated since then, or you want me to add, let me know. I started a whole site called Know It Guide. No, Know It. What did I call this thing? knowitguide.com, and I'm putting those Know It guides out there, kind of just update. So if I've got something wrong in there, let me know, or whatever, we can get it updated.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty, and these guys seem to have. I think they've got their stuff going on. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, they've actually changed. When they were Spider Oak a year ago, they didn't look. They've updated their site, and it actually looks pretty good. These are one of these kind of guys that hadn't updated their site in a while, and they're still around. That's the encouraging thing. If they're charging for it and they're still around,
Hmm.
must be working.
All right, so we're gonna quickly get into this. We're past the 1 hour mark, but we'll touch on a little bit of home automation. But that's the thing, is I'm moving, so I have decided to start taking things out. I don't want to have lights and things flickering on and off and things being weird if someone comes through here. So I have just stopped doing things. I want to take out like the creepy factor, right? You don't want cameras everywhere, and I don't want lights and sirens and strobe, all that kind of weird stuff. I'm taking it out, making it nice and clean, and I'm going to start planning my new location. And so, chatting a little bit with Mike about some door locks. And Mike, I mean, are you having some issues?
Not really having any issues. There's if you're referring to the Kivo story, um, I've been a Kivo user since I moved into the new house, and uh, a lot of people there's some various controversy on whether or not you want to use an electronic lock or not. But to me, it's been a lifesaver, and I can't even imagine not having one. So it's been that useful to me. Recently, I had an issue, and it was an issue more than an aggravation factor, and partly is because I'm impatient. But Quickset, makers of the Kivo, or at least the manufacturer and distributor of the Kivo, is put out a product called the Bluetooth Gateway, or they announced a product a while ago called the Bluetooth Gateway, and it's a, on paper it's a really cool product that allows you to bridge a Bluetooth lock through your Wi-Fi and allow you remote connectivity and access to that lock from anywhere and wherever you happen to be, which is something you can't do with a localized type of lock. It's basically proximity sensing. And I really wanted that feature because I want to be able to check the status of it if I want to let somebody in, and I don't want to send them an e-key, or I don't want to do all that kind of stuff. I want to be able to just press a button and let them in instead of, remoting in and doing my garage. So, long story short, they announced it. It took them forever to get the availability announcement out. They sent out an email. I got it 10 minutes later. I clicked on order now, and I got this message that says, "Oh, I'm sorry, due to popular demand, we've sold out." I said, "Okay, I guess I'll wait." So they make you sign up for a wait list and all that. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, almost 6 weeks go by, and I get another email that says, "We got them back in stock. It's available again." So I clicked on the link again to order. Got the "Sorry, not available. We sold out due to popular demand." So I went kind of ballistic because I'm thinking this is, I work in a manufacturing environment, and I'm thinking this is just not good. This is not acceptable. So I got on the Twitter and I was, ripping them apart. And long story short is they were really, really good about it. And they did actually follow through. And as of this morning, just before I actually found out about the rant I was going to have, because I was going to let them have it for that, they actually came good and actually sent me a private link to allow me to order that device. So it's on its way, and I'm looking forward to getting it. So they made good on their promise, and they are taking care of customers that are trying to get a hold of them, but they just probably need to tweak their marketing just a bit to get that little bit of annoyance factor out. But so I'll have more to say about the actual product when I get it in about a week.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another thing I definitely have to put in action is.
It's awesome. I mean, like I said, everybody's got different thoughts on electronic locks, and some people are worried about security and things like that. And I could probably argue the other way. I would probably argue that in many ways they're more secure because you don't have to give out any keys. You don't have to worry about who's got access to it. You know who went in and out of your house, and you can't get any of that information with a key. So it's to me it's been a real asset. I was a little hesitant at first, but man, I tell you, I could not go back. Even if it's a different brand or whatever, I need to have that electronic lock.
Right. And you have done this before. You have made the big move, and you took your system with you. You actually pulled it up.
I did. Yeah, the nice thing about things like home automation, Insteon, things like that is that they are, I don't want to say the word portable because you are mechanically removing electrical switches from your wall and stuff, but it's not that big of a deal. And if you put them in, you can probably take them out a lot easier because the standard switches and stuff are a lot easier to install because they're a lot smaller, and you don't have to figure out how to thread the wires all over the place to get the damn thing in there. But so taking them out wasn't that huge of a deal, and obviously the rest of the stuff is fairly portable. And it does give you a chance to really replan that out and kind of do it the way you want, because all of us, and I'm sure you're the same, when we started down the home automation route, you had 3 devices, and then things kind of got kludged together, and you added, and you added, and you added. You never really had a pattern, or a system that say, this is what I really want to do. Now that I've experimented, now I can step back and say, this is really what I want to do. And also, knowing the capabilities, it actually helped me with some of the electrical costs at the new place, because I could use some of the remote switches instead of rewiring all the stuff and moving physical switches, and who knows if you actually move it in the right place and maybe you want to change it again later, using the Insteon type switches and controlling your lighting that way actually made it a lot easier for me. So I could add switches in, like for example, my office. Because I moved the door and cut the door on the other side of the room and all that kind of stuff, I still left the switch where it was, which is really inconvenient when you try to walk into the room. So I was able to put a remote switch outside and still allow me to control the switch from the inside. So kind of got the best of both worlds. I did the same thing in the bathrooms. I did, I put a lot of that stuff in to help, compensate for some of the inherent weaknesses in the wiring.
You've got 3 links for me, and I'm going to put these in the show notes, and I'm going to sign off here, and I'm going to start studying what I need to do.
Yeah, I tried to, when you do this stuff, on paper it sounds easy, but when you actually try to recapture it or try to actually explain it to somebody, it's kind of hard to do. So I thought, as I'm doing this, I'm just going to give it my best shot and try to attempt to capture some of the things that I thought through. For the most part, it's, I won't say it was perfect, but it did work out for me, and it sort of gave me the outcome. And it's never done. I mean, that's the thing, is I've got close to 60 devices installed. Yeah, I've got close to 60 devices installed, and I've got a whole box full of more that I need to put in, because the contractor had I don't know if there's a medicine for this or anything like that, but when they put the switches in, they multiplied everything by 3. So I got switches everywhere. Some rooms have 5, 6 switches in it because you could get that finite control of lighting. He thought, if I could get set up different mood lights and all by controlling different banks of switches and stuff. And again, it sounds good on paper, but then you go and try to make it work, and you realize it's just nothing but a pain in the neck. So I was able to install, a lot of the Insteon switches to not only group those together so I can do a whole bunch of stuff at the same time, but also create that mood environment through scenes and things like that. So it kind of worked out pretty well.
I'm actually looking forward to jumping into this new place. A year ago, I stopped my nickel and diming, like you said. You buy a switch here and a camera here and something here, and I stopped and I put it all on paper, went room by room. Here's what my end system would like to be, right? Here's what I'd like to do. And I can't even remember how much it was, but I tallied it up, and then I shopped it, to Amazon and, whoever, and it was multiple thousands of dollars. I mean,
yeah,
it scared, it freaked me out. And I was like, there's no way I can just click and have all of that delivered, that I would be beat to a pulp from the accounting department.
It's funny because I actually, because of the remodeling and the duration it took to actually move, I was actually buying them weekly. Like every week or every other week I'd buy 2 or 3. And I stopped and added everything that I bought over a 6-month period. And I'm glad I didn't do this in advance like you did, because then I probably would have not done it.
Yeah,
but it was
I
close
did. I
to
stopped.
It was like $4,300 when it was all said and done. Well, that includes like irrigation and there's a lot of stuff in there, but it adds up. I mean, it's not something you're going to do in one shot. Well, if you got the money, I guess you could, but it's something that if you plan it right and you start with the right stuff, you can actually scale it really nicely and get to where you want. And who cares if it takes you a year and a half to get all the items that you want,
That's exactly why sitting over on this table over there is my 8-port or my 8-zone sprinkler controller, my Z-Wave controller, sitting right over there, still in the box, not getting put on the wall here. We'll put it in the wall in the spring at the new house.
Yeah. Did you buy like a separate um, controller with some intelligence, or are you trying to do it through your home
It's
automation?
Smart Things supported. It's um,
Okay.
it's a system called Spruce, and I've been following these guys and actually talking with them. Monthly. It used to be called Eve, and so that was real too close to all these other products, named Eve and systems. So they named it Spruce, and it works with Smart Things. So you do it from your dashboard, and it's supposed to be really cool. But it comes with sensors, ground sensors. You can just jab one into the ground and it sits really low and it communicates back to the hub and says, hey, my part of the yard is peachy. We don't need water. So it'll like turn other zones on
I'd
at
really
that.
like to know if that works because, some people say they've gotten it to work. I had just a single sensor, and it's on the shelf. Let's put it that way. It's not.
Okay.
It just doesn't do what I need it to do. The granularity of control just isn't there, and so I ended up doing it differently. So, but I know there's controllers out there that have the intelligence that you can just attach to your home automation system and just get notifications or create a link or trigger an event or whatever.
Right.
But you can have it use weather and things like that.
Mhm.
I went the cheap route and I just created multiple schedules that I could tune each zone easily. I can see what's going on, and I can just a click of a button and I can disable the whole thing. So if it's not that it rains a lot in Southern California, but when it does, I can actually save that water.
Right.
Or ever.
Or ever.
Or ever, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope it works, and I'll feed back to you. It's sitting over in my unboxing station, and I need to unbox it and get it on video. And you guys know how I love to unbox things, and that is how busy I have been. It is still sitting over there, so and I'll probably catch up with those guys at CES.
We might make a great team because you like to unbox and I like to rip the box open and get it installed as quickly as I can.
We will. That's going to be fun coming up in 2016. Well, I've kept you guys long enough. It's an hour and 20 minutes, and Mike, you still have a little bit of drive to get home, and it is
Yep,
almost 11
another hour.
o'clock here on the Eastern Time Zone. So pick your favorite podcast from the Geeks Network, Mr. Fauché, and head home. And everybody out there in chat and on the live stream. And you watching at home on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to put your questions, put your comments about this into the homeservershow.com forums. If you have any question about any device or anything we've discussed here, either we will answer or those guys in the forums will answer you. So please do not hesitate to get out there and use those forums. That's what they're there for. I created that to be like the comment system for this thing that we do, and it's much more in depth than a physical top-down comment system on WordPress. That's why those comments are turned off. So we have the forum, and it works great. And I encourage you to use that. So, Mike, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Dave.
All right, Jim, as always.
Good to be here.
All right, thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see you in the forums. Good night. All right, Mike, get on the road.
I'm going to do that. Thanks, Dave.
11
Jim,
Hey, good seeing you, Mike.
good seeing you.
Great having you.
Yeah, maybe traffic will be calm for you.
Oh, it'll be nice at this time. This is a great time to be on the road. It's pretty open. So,
Okay. Good
all right, guys,
Super.
get
man.
some sleep. We'll see
Drive
you guys.
safe, man.
All right,
All right, we'll see you.
bye bye.
Okay, YouTubers in live chat, I'm going to turn off the live stream. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hit the like button or the subscribe button or
That's a
something.
good call. That's a good call.
Hit a button. Just hit a button. See ya.